Welcome back to Chatterbox and welcome to, well, today is not a reaction, it's a conversation and it's conversation with a young lady called Nirmala. How are you doing, Nirmala?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Now, for those people that are tuning in and going, what is this? Today I'm speaking to one of our subscribers. We got into a conversation and she was telling me some really interesting stuff. And I said, you know what? I'd love for you to jump on and just share your thoughts and see what the subscribers have to say about it and just hear so much more about because you're really passionate about film, Indian film, representation.
Yes.
You're currently residing in the United States. And so, straight off, tell the subscribers a little bit about yourself and stuff.
Well, my name is Nirmala Narayan. Well, since May, I'm Dr. Nirmala Narayan. It feels
Congratulations.
thank you. Still feels like a new pair of shoes. I was born in India, in Bombay. I grew up in British Hong Kong.
Okay.
And then I moved back to India when I was 17. Did my undergraduate there. And I've been in the US ever since then. And I've always been fascinated by not just film, but the powerful media of cultural texts, which could be film, could be books, it could just be ideas of how the world sees us. And it gets more complicated when you add the extra layer of national versus global versus local. So it's I always found, like personally for me, I found how I'm viewed changes depending on my geographic location, and which is fascinating in itself, uh, especially when I'm constructing who I am or how I see myself in the world, and it's contingent on how others see me. It gets a little complicated. So yeah, now I'm digressing into a different thing, but yeah, that's me, and that's
Okay.
one of the reasons why I love film.
You know, over the since we've started the channel, we've learned so much, my team and I, and um, it's like we're so ignorant of Indian culture and Indian cinema, and the subscribers have always put us right, saying, you know what, there's this many industries, and then there's this always this debate on which is the biggest film industry, because most of us only know about Bollywood, and then to kind of know that there's the Tamil industry, the Malayalam industry, and there's so many industries, and so, South India is producing such amazing content at the moment.
Mhm.
So, for you, which is your favorite industry at the moment in India?
I'm from Kerala,
Okay,
so
okay,
for me, it's Malayalam.
okay.
Um, but I can also see the cultural similarities in the Tamil industry as well. So um, I I'm equally I'm not I wouldn't say equally partial. I'm extremely partial to Malayalam industry, but I'm okay with Tamil. I watch a lot of Tamil films as well. Um, Hindi, I mean, I guess the easiest way to say is the languages that I understand are the languages that I gravitate to. So I understand Hindi and I understand Tamil and I understand Malayalam. So Hindi I'm okay with, but that's like if I have nothing else to watch. But I have been catching up on a lot of movies lately. So I would say I'm also in touch with the Bollywood, but it clearly, if I was thinking about who I am and how my life is being represented or people that I see at home, I would say Malayalam.
And how do you think Indian cinema is perceived in the US? How do they respond to it?
Yeah, that kind of goes into my research because here's the idea of a single story, right? Stereotypes. And so a story that's being told over and over again with stereotypes within it. So I know it's clearly different in the UK versus the US. In the US, when you look at Indians or like South Asians as a category, but Indians specifically, especially in schools, the representations of the understanding is they're academically gifted, socially awkward, and really good in math and really good in science. So most of the kids fall into that category, but then there's, like me, the kids who don't fall into that category. So when you see movies or film, you can also pick up who the Indians are. Like now you have, like in the back in the day, I think everyone growing up in the 90s were plagued by Apu from The Simpsons. Then now it's getting a little better. We I don't know if you've heard of the show Never Have I Ever.
Yes, I have.
Problematic as it is for the grown-ups, I think most of the girls are so happy to see someone just like them. It's the first time there's representation of it's actually sad to when you think about it. Like it's taken all this time. So yeah, it's an academically hardworking model minority. Have you heard the term model minority?
Yes, I have. I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a model minority kind of situation where we put our heads down, we don't get in trouble, and this also bleeds into adults. So it's slowly changing, but it's going to take some time. And the UK has an older population, right? I would say there's like fourth and fifth generation from South Asia, versus in the US, I would say we're barely getting into the third generation.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it, when it came to in anything Asian, when I was younger, the only thing I really watched was Bend It Like Beckham,
Mm-hmm.
East is East. And I
Mm-hmm.
was kind of limited because it was Gurinder Chadha that actually brought a lot of Asian culture over to the British audience. And a lot of people did not watch a lot of Indian cinema until we heard about Bahubali, and then that was a lot of people's first venture into Indian cinema. But before that, it was just usually, I think Gurinder Chadha kind of opened that door. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is a story that I tell, and I think it resonates more with the UK, my UK friends. Is when I during my GCSEs, we had Kestrel for a Knave. Was a book about a lad growing up in Yorkshire, and that was the coming of age book that all of us had to read. And I'm like, yeah, but he's a lad growing up in Yorkshire. He's white, and I'm supposed to write an essay about the coming of age feeling, or his struggles. I'm like, well, clearly I'm sitting in Hong Kong, and you have like Cass, like a book anyway. And I think that's when I began to realize that kids in school, and Bend It Like Beckham was the first time I was like, gosh, there's a girl, and on top of that she's playing football. So it's very, very important, at least for the school age kids, that they see themselves as like books as mirrors where they can see themselves reflected or their lives reflected. And it's similar in movies. Movies are, as you said, right, the exposure to the global thing comes from the big ones, right? The RRRs, the Bababalis. And also Ponyan Selvan, the PS1, um, is making huge waves here because it's the first time it's a South Asian history we're talking about.
What do you think of that film, by the way?
I absolutely adore it. It's a
How many
South.
times have you seen it?
I've seen it once,
Oh, once. Okay. See,
but
see, see, you're slacking. I went to the cinema when RRR came out, and I was speaking to a lady there and said, "How many times have you seen this?" And she was like, "Yeah, I haven't watched it this week, but I've watched it 12 times so far." And I was like, "This is crazy. I mean, wow!" It's
well,
and
see,
that is before it got to Netflix.
this is the interesting thing about PS1 is we've all grown up with the stories. Like my grandmom used to read, like when we used to go back to India during the holidays, and she used to read us, because the story of Ponniyin Selvan started off as a like a serial that comes in magazine, like a magazine called Kalki, right? So I think it's called Kalki. but it comes with a weekly serial with episodes. And my grandfather had to go to the store and buy it and give it to my grandmom. She would avidly read it, and she would tell us the story. So we've all grown up around it. And for us, especially as a South Indian, where when you talk about Bollywood or you talk about RRR or even Babu Bali, the imagination is more of a North Indian or a pan-Indian story. And this is for us, by us, right? So it's our history being reflected, which is like I don't know, it's a special thing, I guess. Not that we are separating us versus them, but sometimes it's nice to see, no one has heard of. Have you heard of the Chola dynasty? You probably.
I started to hear about it obviously since doing reactions. I started to do my research and started to hear a lot more about it. But prior to that, no. So I've just been fascinated. And do you know what? Subscribers don't realize how much I read through the comments, and they were like, "Check this out," and I'll go and watch this and look at this. And did you know this is the history of this? And I'm like, "Whoa, I didn't know that." And it's always opening my eyes. And one of the reasons why I'm so passionate, being a film teacher myself, I like anything to do with film. Yes, I do. I'm not just about Indian film industry. I like the French film industry. I'm into the Korean film industry, British film industry, obviously, and so on. So you did your doctorate, and part of it was looking at representation and exploring representation. What do you think of? Could you give me any insight into how these films are representing, more specifically women? How are women represented? Do you think it's giving a proper representation of females?
I think it's getting better. And I think one of the things that I go back to is representation is not only in front of the camera, it should also be behind the camera. It should be everyone in every aspect, the storytellers, the directors, the cinematographers. And I think it is getting better only because there are more women directors, women storytellers, who are insisting on realistic, real stories being depicted. And that, again, differs. There's a difference between if you go from one film industry to another. I think Malayalam film industry is a little ahead when it comes to, because most of the stories that they do tell is rooted in literature and rooted in realism. But I do see in Bollywood, in Hindi films, that there is a slow turn with actresses like Tapsi Pannu. The names escape me, but they are and Vidya Balan, they're insisting that they not be, because if you go back to the 90s or early 2000s, female representation in movies were the giggly girlfriend, the love interest, who had nothing really to do but swoon and be rescued. And that was it, right? They were also depicted as cute, like chasing bunny rabbits and rescuing birds from falling from trees, which is, I'm sure there are people who rescue birds, but I think women did a lot more than that.
I'm curious. Is there any Indian films out there that is just all females? There's no guys at all in there, and it's just all females talking about them going through their dramas? Because I'd love to see that. Talking about the turmoil that they go through, laughing and joking. Because you see a lot of American films where it's all females and men play the side part. But is there any Indian films? I don't mind which industry is that is just all females. And if you can't think of it, is the subscribers, could you recommend one that is just all females, that shows females in a more prominent, assertive role, and even if showing them the different generations, like the grandma, the mom, the daughter, and them intermingling, and even if they're talking about men, that the men are not a predominant role. Is that yet in Indian cinema?
I think it does. The only ones that come to mind right now are the anthologies, like the short stories that come up. Or there's a series called Masaba Masaba, which is in Hindi, and it's on Netflix, I believe. And it's got to do with a half West Indian, half Indian girl growing up in India. And her father is actually in real life.
Don't say Clive Lloyd.
Yep.
As the cricketer, because
Yep.
that's what the same thing that came to my mind. Because I think it was one of the subscribers blew my mind. Like, says, "Did you know that is Clive Lloyd's daughter?" I was like, "Ooh, okay, get in there, Clive." Okay, yeah,
It is
because I'm a big cricket fan as well.
Oh, me
Yeah,
too. It's definitely a fun watch because it's so woman centered, and I think this also goes back to that it's directed by a woman, written by a woman. So it goes back to what I was saying earlier about who is doing the storytelling, right? And whose gaze is being placed on the story in itself. So um, I love Masaba Masaba. Like, I watched it straight through in 2 days, and I was disappointed because I was like, when's the next series? Because I've already seen both of them. Um, and I think that similarly, I think in Malayalam, there are a few anthologies, but I'll look it up and I can send it to you as well. But they're not, like, some of them are happy stories, but there's some of them are that really do highlight like patriarchy and how, how women do like struggle. Um, and those are the truth telling stories, which I'm not sure too many people are interested in watching. If you view it as, I want to go have a good time, and these are the movies that make you think. Um, so yeah, and that reminds me, there's another. I don't know if you've seen any. He's a Tamil director, and his name is Pa Ranjith, and he does. I think it starts with Nakshatram. I can't pronounce the second half, so I'm just going to say Nakshatram. It's new. It's on Netflix, and he does a lot of work on subversive. He does a lot of subversive work. He talks about caste. He talks about gender. He talks about colorism. Um, and the coolest thing that I've seen is in all of his movies, his insistence on on finding actors who are female, who are dark skinned, and I love it. Um, and there's actually one movie that he had. It's in Tamil, and it's called Madras. And a line in there: the mother's looking for a daughter-in-law, and she rejected a girl for being too fair. I just had so much fun with that.
that is that is rare, because that is like a whole different. It's just like looking at it, like not only is there a lot of prejudice against certain women, but about their size, but about their skin tone. And I just feel like the darker they are, it's like they're seen as lower down and stuff like that. Do you think that it will change in the future? Do you think it is changing?
I hope so. I really, really hope so. And I think it starts with when you see yourself, right? And I think it goes back to when a girl sees herself on TV or in a movie who looks like her with curly hair and dark skin, and not the ideal fair messages she's getting at home or outside in society. There is probably a kindling of hope that there are more people who are going to write into reality characters who look like normal Indian, West Indian, Asian girls. And I think that's why I find representation in films like crucial. And it's also complicated, right? If you're in India, gender takes precedence. But if you're living in the US or in the UK, how are we being viewed by the majority? And how are we being minoritized or being shoved into a single story? Um, because what happens is when you have a stereotype about Indians, for example, it almost becomes an authenticity issue where people will look at you and go, well, I get to hear all the time, you're Indian, but you don't sound like you're Indian. What does Indian sound like? Right? But you're British. I'm like, I'm not, I'm Indian. But you see what I'm saying? So it's like other people who are Caucasian, our Caucasian cousins, they tend to hold the bar, right? Do you do yoga? No, I don't. Oh, really? I thought everybody did yoga. So it's that kind of messaging that you also get. So yeah, short answer, I hope so.
Well, the thing about it, Indian cinema is moving forward, and I think I've been watching Indian cinema, what now, 3 years now? And even in the 3 years that I've been watching it, the advancements that I've seen in Indian cinema and the reach that it's getting is fantastic. Like there's people, Jabi, who's actually kind of created this platform that people not only in India, but outside of India have been watching this channel. I think it's Stupid Reactions have created this platform that people are starting to engage. But I would love, from everything that I've seen, and I've watched quite a few films now, I would love to see more female representation, in the sense that not only I'd like to see women be a little bit more dominant in films, and not just the glamorous, beautiful, light-skinned women. Because I can name Priyanka Chopra, I can name Kareena, is it Kareena Kapoor and Krishna Kapoor? I can name Alia Bhatt. Alia Bhatt is literally in everything. I start to wonder if she's ever at home. It's like you turn on the movie, Alia Bhatt's there. She's like, she just turns up all the time. So, but then if you, I can't, and it's bad. Could I name 3 dark-skinned Indian women that I've seen in films predominantly? That I can't think of any. So I think that needs to change a little bit more. That needs to be household name. I might be completely wrong, subscribers. There might be a subscriber out there going, you are totally wrong. You need to, yes. But I'm open to being learning. Yeah.
No, I think that there is that divide again. Like if you were to delve into, I'm using it because I've predominantly watched a lot of Malayalam movies, but if you look into Malayalam movies, I can name 5 of them. Four women who are dark skinned and successful. Because I think it's got to do with the producers, right? I mean, this goes back to the production, like who's putting money into it, who's directing, who's a storyteller. And they seem to think that they know the audience. And it's all a male, white, not male dominant gaze, right? When you go, yeah, you're not handsome, you are. But how do you know? Like, I personally don't think Hrithik Roshan is all that. Sorry. Right?
You know, there might be a subscriber now just losing their mind. Like, how do you like? He's one of the most sexiest men in the world. Yeah, can you say that?
I'll take a Vijay Sethupathi over Hrithik Roshan any day.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It's a personal choice, but when other people tend to speak for other people, like the producers and the directors and the storytellers, it becomes very flat. It becomes, this is what, that's why Alia Bhatt is in everything, because that's the certain look that they're looking for.
And the one thing I know, I'm jumping off topic, I'd love to know her schedule, because it's like, is she in one movie in the morning or one movie in the afternoon? It's just like, how does she get in everything? It's just like, let's call Alia Bhatt. Oh, we need an advert, Alia Bhatt. Yeah, we need. It's like
it's everywhere. But it's also there's an interview, I think it's I'll find it for you, but where Masaba speaks of it, where she goes, look at me, I'm not mainstream female actress material. She's got beautiful skin, but it's not fair. She's got lovely hair, but it's not straight. So it's that idea of there's so much talent, but breaking that barrier even though it's coming slow and steady. We start with gender, then we can talk about the LGBTQ representation. You know, those are the harder barriers to break. But yeah, Alia, but yes, I'd be very curious to see.
I didn't watch the film, but I saw a trailer the other day, and it was based on the LGBTQ community, and so I thought the subscribers were saying that this is a very popular film. I can't remember the name of it. I need to find it where the guy was dressed in drag. I need to. I need to check it out and
Was
get.
it? Wait, I know what you're talking about now. Why is it? It's kicking me now.
I
Is
know
it?
subscribers there going,
Is
yeah.
it
How do you
super
forget
deluxe?
that? But yeah,
Is it super deluxe?
super. Yes, super deluxe. Yes, and the thing about it, when we saw the trailer, we were like, whoa. How we I think me and my team and I, we didn't know how to respond because we were kind of surprised at the trailer. We were like, oh, okay. Yeah.
And
Have you seen that film?
yes, yes, and I think Vijay Sethupathi does a brilliant job in it, um, as a trans woman. But I think the idea there is the frustrating part, and it frustrates a lot of people, and that's why Power Ranjit's latest movie. It's if you have access to Google, because I probably will.
Yeah.
It's called Nakshatram Nadigrada, I think, um, where we talk about representation and the frustrating feedback that I get, or from my friends who are activists in the LGBTQ plus space, is we shouldn't have a man playing that role, right? We should have real representation,
Yeah.
right? But it is one of those we had, and they also understand that we have to wait. Like, hang on, like the audience needs to get used to seeing such, even if it's Vijay Sethupathi dressed in drag, right? The audience needs to get used to that.
Yeah.
And then after that, we can talk about real representation. And that's why Ranjit's latest movie, they're two proper representations, which makes my heart glad, because there are movie makers and story writers who are insisting on such proper representation. So yeah, it's I saw all of it. I mean, Super Deluxe is there's there are like 3 or 4 stories that kind of go run in tandem.
They're intertwined with each
Yeah.
other. Okay.
It's like, I think there's another Hindi movie called Ludo where that occurs, where is 4 story streams and then they kind of run in together. Yeah, so I think, yeah, that is, at least movies are getting made. I mean,
Yeah.
that's something that we need to look at and feel glad about. And I don't know how much of an impact that's going to have outside of India, but hopefully it does, because right now the only thing people are talking about is RRR and Bahubali.
How obviously I can only tell you how RRR was received in the UK, but how was RRR received in America?
Similarly,
Yeah.
people are ranting and raving about it. I have my own personal issues with it, but when I saw it, I was like, "Ah, oh, okay." It is obviously an action-packed.
Yeah.
The VFX is brilliant, and if you use it, it all depends on the lens you use, right, to see the movie. Like,
The thing about it, if I go there with popcorn and just for entertainment,
Mhm.
I will enjoy it. I think it's a fantastic movie on that level. If I go there to be like as a film student to look at it, I'm like, beyond the visual effects, there's so many things that literally did not make. There's some things that didn't make sense to me. Like I felt the storyline had so many gaps I could have driven a truck through. And
Yeah.
I know there might be subscribers says, "How dare you say that?" But like the classic one that made no sense to me was how they tried to intertwine that white woman into the story, and basically he was crazy about her, even though there was a language divide. But let's put that aside. How was he able to communicate? How was he able to get in contact with the woman from the palace? He doesn't have a mobile phone. He
Mhm.
doesn't have any form of he doesn't, unless he's talking to pigeons and they're flying into the. How was she able to help him towards the end? So entertainment value, I loved it, but when it came to storyline, there were some things that I was just like, you put that in just for the white audience, and they would have received that and enjoyed it. But I don't get why you put that in. It would have been better without certain elements.
I agree. When I saw the white lady in it, I was like, "Oh, Lagan. Have you seen the movie Lagan?"
Yes, yes, I have. Yes, yeah,
It's also a white lady
yeah.
who says you can play cricket,
Mhm.
right? It's so I was like, "Oh, is that? Are you trying to draw parallels or bring the audience back in, going, look, Lagan did it, so here we are." My issue was if I view it from a caste religious related um, lens, I have issues
Yeah,
where you have a member. Ram Charan plays the police officer, right?
yeah,
He plays the role of an upper caste man who befriends a tribal man
yeah,
to get his job done, and then I was okay with that because I was like, okay, there's stories we've seen stories like that, but someone please, if your subscribers could help me with this, and someone explain to me why he turns into Lord Rama in the end. I don't, I, I can't. I'm Hindu. I I can't. I don't even understand why suddenly he takes on and how's that helping the story, right? I
yeah.
mean,
The thing about it, I just thought the director, and again, I like the movie, but I just thought the director took some creative liberties in certain areas. It was just like, yeah, that didn't need to be there. It could have been better without some elements. There's some bits I would have taken away, and it would have been stronger. And
but
so,
I,
but I gathered it was there not just for. It was to kind of make sure they appeal to certain demographics and kind of make sure that they feel like they're a part of the story and stuff like that. And go, oh yeah,
but this goes back to this other thing that is enduring in my research as well, is like, who's your intended audience versus your actual audience, right? So you always, and very rarely do both of them meet. So you can have an intended audience as the writer is writing the story,
yeah,
and maybe the intended audience was somebody who understood every aspect of it. And I'm also not taking away from it. I thought the reach, the global reach, and the
yeah.
popularity was amazing. And I think OTT and the online platforms have a lot to play with um, in that aspect, bringing regional and local movies from outside of India to people in the UK and in the US. So yeah, I yeah, trucks. There were a lot of trucks that could be driven through that.
So, before we finish off, I was just like wanted to know if I asked you for your three top Indian films, what would you say?
Oh my gosh. Uh that's hard. Because we're talking, okay, can we narrow it down to timeline? Like, can you give me,
All right, do you know what? Since the turn of the 21st century,
um, I love Kumblangi
I was
Nights.
going to say that is my second. I watched that the other day and it blew me away, especially
Lovely.
especially the last 15 minutes. the last 15 minutes, that guy, when he went and that freaky moment, those freaky moments, I was just like, yay! I was just like, that blew me away. And then I think it was Joyce that recommended another film that was, I can't remember. She recommended another film that was similar to it from Malayalam, and I didn't really enjoy it as much. But
What was
Kumbalingi,
the like? Do you
um,
remember like the storyline, or
I just didn't. Yeah, it was a storyline. It was
was
a
it
story.
Angamali Diaries?
No, I'm trying to think. It was. I need to check it. But Kumbalingi Nights is number 2. I'd say KGF.
Oh
It
God.
has to be there. I never expected it, and that's why I really.
I have. I'm just going to be honest, and I have no problems objectifying men
Yeah.
in movies because women had to bear the brunt for the longest time. I watched KGF 1 and 2 only for Yash, and
Yeah.
that was it. For Rocky. And
Yeah.
I stopped paying attention to anything else that was happening. I was like, who are you? Why? I don't care. Oh, here's Yash. Yes, I think that also is what the director of KGF 1 and 2 calls anti-gravity movies.
Yeah. Yes.
And yeah, you can just leave all brain cells at home and just sit there and watch and revel in it. I love Kumlangi Nights, and
Because
this
that's
is
the realism in that was quite good.
yes. And it's funny, my parents live 25 minutes from there.
Okay.
It's a very different world. And I was like, this time, next time I go home, I'm going to Kumlangi because I've heard of it, but I've never really visited. And watching this, and I'm like, damn, it's just that I could just it's 25 minutes. In Tamil, there's another, it's another randomness, but it's called Okay Kanmani. It's
Okay.
by the same director as PS1. And it's a silly romantic, but um, it just makes my heart glad.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't want to deal with like serious stuff. But now we're talking about the third one. This is going to be crucial because I have to think about, you say of all time.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, this is going to be hard.
Because although Bahubali, I like that, that doesn't fit in my top 3.
Yeah.
It's a good film, but it didn't fit in my top 3.
I would say it's a Tamil movie, and it's called Master.
I was just about to say, Master, yes. The thing about it, I know, Master, I watched it the other day. Yes, VJ, yes, I really, really enjoyed it. And the
That
thing
sounds
about it,
right.
I had to apologize to the subscribers because when I saw the trailer, I didn't think it was going to be that good.
Really?
I didn't think, I just saw, I was like, I thought it was going to be average. And then I watched it. I couldn't take my eyes off it. I was just like, Master was brilliant. It was well written. You know what I really like about action films is I like when there's a lot of action, but I like when it has a good storyline.
Yes.
And you know what as well is when cinema does this is when the antagonist is someone you love but you hate. And I loved the antagonist, but I hated him at the same time. I loved the protagonist and I liked his journey. And you know, when they make that, the antagonist, if he had thought of his plans a little bit carefully, he could have beaten the protagonist. And I like when they do something like that. You know, when you watch it and at the start, you're like, the protagonist is going to beat him straight away. You like when you can see that it's a 50-50 balance and it comes down to decisions. And yeah, Master. I thought Master was trying to, it came out what, last year? Yes.
I think it was last year, and I think
January. I
there's
think it's
one
January.
more. There's one more that's in contention. I'm taking Okay Kanmani out, by the way.
Yeah.
It's the Tamil version of Vikram Vedha.
The time of before it was remade. Yes.
Have you seen the Tamil version, or did you see?
I saw I did a reaction to. I did a solo reaction. I was saying that the remake. I saw the original. The remake. People came at me hard over saying how dare they? Because that is one of the things that I'm really confused about, and I've said this quite a few times. I understand remaking a film, but I do not understand remaking a film so quickly.
I don't.
I'm like, because it's like the film just came out. What did the new director go to the cinema or even the existing and go, I'm going to remake it? Give it at least 10 years. Don't, not 3 years later. That literally makes no sense. And it's the same director, it's just a different cast. And then how do you feel as a actor that you've just made a film, you got good feedback, and while it's picking up its pace, the director goes and remakes exactly the same film, and people go, it's because it's for other audiences to see. And I'm like, if America starts remaking Indian films, there'd be an uproar. Why do you remake? I do not get that. It's like, if people are not from that culture, put subtitles on it.
Yeah, I don't
People
get it. And I understand, and I agree with you. Like, at least with Vikram Vedha came out in 2017.
Yeah.
So it's okay, 6 years. But there's one that didn't make sense to me at all was the movie Jersey.
Yeah.
That was hot on the heels. Like, it's just as I was like, ooh, Jersey, I need to see Nani, I need to see the Telugu version. It's out. I was like, really? Like, it. And I think it's got to do with the sad, ugly head of capitalism, right? Where you're like, well, it's not, you want to see, and it's representation again, right? Like, nobody really wants to see Vijay Sethupathi up in North, or if you're a Hrithik Roshan fan, you don't want to see him playing the protagonist. You want to see, or is it antagonist? See, this thing with Vikram Vedha that I love, like, we don't know who, like, everything's shades of gray. And it's really weird. But yeah, I don't understand the remake culture. And
because the thing about it, they remade the Tom Hanks film recently, Forrest Gump, and that got a lot of backlash. And people are like, how dare you? And you're like, oh, see, you should. Yeah.
But I think that was done right. I mean, with Amir Khan, they bought the rights. It took them 14 years. You know, it's a struggle, right?
Yeah.
But again, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like, why mess it? Like, if it's not broke, why fix it, right?
Like the thing about it, they remake films that win awards, some of your top awards. I don't understand. I understand remaking a film that hasn't. It's like remaking a film that has won an Oscar. What your version of the Oscar? If they've won, is it a film fair or the award in India? If you've won an award for that film, why remake that film? That film should be kind of like iconic, no matter where it's from. They should leave those films alone. Like, another film that would have made my top 3 and it just missed out was Anne Had Hun. I think that is fantastic. Yes. It's a fantastic film. That and you know that they've remade it. They've remade it.
Who?
Yeah, they've recently. It's the trailers. We reacted to the trailer the other day, and it was like exactly the same film.
Which industry? Please don't tell me it's no. Which industry?
They just need to check it. They remade it. Anne Had Hun.
It's just there's certain movies, like there's a movie in Malayalam. It's called Angamali Diaries.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of lads fighting each other. That's it. The whole movie. It's got a lovely story, and it's just how testosterone gets spurred on in Angamali, and it's very location specific. They're remaking that in Hindi.
Wow.
I'm like, really? Where are you setting this? And what's happening? Like, it's, yeah, there's certain movies that I don't understand the need.
The remake culture is just getting out of hand. And you know what? The thing about it, what annoys me, we've just had lockdown. Couldn't the writers come up with something new? It's like even in Hollywood cinema, Hollywood and even British cinema, is that you shouldn't be remaking films. You literally had 2 years to stay at home and write. come up with
And
something new.
right.
But hey,
But here's the thing. I think there's a lot of people who talk about, and I've actually looked into this a little bit, and I think a lot of people talk about uninspiring or just lazy writers, right? They don't want to gamble on a new writer, like the producers, right? Who knows if the story is going to work? But this movie right here has worked, so let's remake it.
yeah, it's
And what
about the
I don't
money.
get is let's have the same director redo it. Like they
Yeah.
tried, I think with Vikram and Veda, I think they tried to get.
It was the
I'm
same
not sure.
director. It was the
Yeah,
same director.
it was the same directors. There's a couple, husband and wife, Gayatri and Pushkar,
Yeah.
who are the directors. And I think it was another remake where they tried to get the exact same characters to play it up in Hindi, and they're like, "No, we've already done our role." Like, no, what? Why are we remaking it? Like, I don't think that's very artistically or challenging. But I guess if you're trying to get your movies to go into places where people understand the culture or the language or whatever, it makes sense. But it doesn't make sense to me
Yeah.
because, in my probably unpopular opinion, and I do apologize if anyone yells at me for this, but Vijay Sethupathiy's Veda was the most sinister, calm, and collected version. If you notice, he doesn't get into a single fight the whole movie. He gets into a fight and loses it pretty much to Vikram, right,
Yeah.
in the rain scene, but he's got other people to do the fighting for him. He's either got a like a
Henchman.
vegetabi or a gun. He's dealing with all that, right? And yeah, so I don't know. It'd be hard to reproduce it, and I think that's why Hrithik Roshan had to go out the box and act a bit crazy in order to. But to each his own. I
Yeah.
am opinionated. If you haven't figured this part out.
Well, hey, it was, you know what? It was great speaking to you and just listening to your insight on Indian cinema and just kind of talking. Because, you know, so many times you read the comments and it's like sometimes I've said to so many subscribers, I know you have a strong opinion in the comment section. Come online, tell me about it. Don't just be a keyboard warrior. If you disagree with me, come on and tell me what you think, and let us see if we can you can educate me, opens my eyes to some of the things that I might be missing. And you know what? You took the challenge, and it's glad to have you here on Chatterbox. So
Oh,
thank
no
you.
worries. Thank you so much. But there's one thing I want to say quickly.
Yeah.
Um, have you seen the trailer for See You Soon?
See you
It's on
soon.
Amazon. Yeah, it's on Amazon. And
No, I
uh,
haven't. See you
oh,
soon.
since you are a film teacher,
Yeah.
a professor, um, you should watch it. It's basically all done. It was done during the lockdown, so the whole movie is done on camera. So it's either like Google Chat or Zoom, or there's like messages sent on WhatsApp, video
And
shared.
it has Fadel Fassel,
Yes,
legendary actor. I don't think he gets enough recognition. I think he should be a lot. Joyce loved him. Joyce was like, oh, yeah, so she loved
I
him.
love
But
Fahad
yes,
Faasil, but I'm a Joyce is a fan of Mohanlal. I have
yeah,
surmised. Sorry, I'm a fan of Mammootty, who
yeah,
she clearly doesn't talk about, but I will throw his name out there. But yeah, this movie becomes even more meaningful, and I'll share that interview with you as well when the director and Fahad and Roshan Matthews talk about how they actually filmed the movie
yeah.
and how the director and the cinematographer are the same person. Um, the amount of work he had to put into it, that movie, and it's like it's a new age
Yeah.
process. But anyway, I'm rambling now. But
No, that's great. No, so thank you very much. Thank you
no
for coming
worries.
online. And you
Thanks.
know what? We would definitely catch up again soon, okay?
That would
So
be
for the subscribers that have watched to the end of this, I know it's a long conversation. If you made it to 50 minutes, well done. Thank
sorry.
you. No, it's great.
That's what
Um,
happens when I start talking.
no, you know what? Make sure you put your comments in the section. Don't be too mean, because I know how some subscribers are. They'll be like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, you know what? I invite any subscriber to come on and talk to me. Tell me what you think. Do you agree with what we said? Do you disagree with what I've said? Do you think that we should say more or say less? I don't know. I know
I
we
know
always get.
it's like if you can come up with movies that you think are better representations of certain
Mhm.
things, that would be great.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll see if I can revise my top three. But right
Okay.
now, my top three stands.
All right.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, so do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. Please check us out on Patreon. This is myself, P, and the lovely young lady, Dr. Nirmala. Doctor is, how would you say it? Doctor? Do you use your last name or your first name? How
Uh,
would you?
Dr. Narayan.
Okay, all right.
No, just call me Nirmala. Let's just
No,
like,
no,
yeah.
no. When you got the doctorate, you take the doctorate. Okay, all
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye bye. Have a lovely evening.
Bye.